For this reason, the males keep a careful watch on their boundaries, marking and monitoring scent marks around their territory. Sometimes it seems they don't get the respect that their magnificence deserves. When young males in the pride begin to mature, they are seen as a threat by the resident males. Soon a time comes when the pride males will no longer tolerate their presence and actively seek them out. When the senior males catch up with the youngsters, they are ejected from the family they have been with since birth. They now face the toughest challenge of their lives, surviving on the run until strong enough to fight for their own territory. During this time, they will feed on anything they can catch. Even a monitor lizard is food and part of the learning process. Scavenging of carcasses not yet discovered by other lions becomes a way of life until their proficiency allows them to graduate to bigger game. Young females will usually stay with the maternal group and become part of the nucleus around which lion sociality revolves. They too have skills to hone, and they test their speed and strength by stalking almost any animal they find. Soon they begin to accompany the pride on nightly hunts, taking up their role within the team. But they have a lot to learn, and their initial lack of experience often spoils a carefully planned ambush. When the pride is successful and a large kill is made, the whole cycle of learning begins again. While an experienced female subdues the zebra they have caught, the new young mother calls in her tiny cubs. Even though this is their first experience with large prey, the youngsters already show the instinctive behavior of the predator. Small as they are, the intent behind their games with the dead zebra displays a ferocity that will later make them successful killers. When daylight comes, the pride has finished its initial feeding, and most of them have moved off to lie up in the shade. Although inexperienced herself, the new young mother has an instinctive knowledge of what she needs to do. First, the zebra carcass must be moved into the shade of nearby trees to prevent detection from the air. She must then laboriously cover the remaining gut contents where the kill took place to camouflage any scent that may give away the presence of the lions. These measures ensure that no other predators will arrive that could threaten the safety of the cubs. When the pride reaches the peak of its strength and hunting prowess, they are ready to take on the challenge of their most formidable prey. The one animal in Africa that poses a serious threat to the might of the pride is another member of the Big Five, the Cape buffalo. This is a truly dangerous quarry, as buffalo will protect any member of the herd that is attacked, and they must be approached with extreme caution. When the pride gets close to the herd, they close in to test any weakness in the defense. Buffalo repulse the lions aggressively time and again, keeping vulnerable members of the herd protected in the center. After some time, the herd will break and run for the cover of thick bush. The pride continues to press the attack until the risks finally outweigh the benefit, and they are driven off. Even when a buffalo is captured out on the plains, success is not assured. The lions will attempt to disable the animal quickly with savage bites to the back and throat. As soon as the herd hears the bellows of the victim, they rush in to chase off the attackers. Buffalo are notoriously resilient and difficult to kill, as many a hunter has learnt to his detriment. Even a badly wounded animal can recover quickly after the lions have been driven off. At night, the lions have a greater chance of success because they can exploit the confusion that the cloak of darkness allows them to create. When there are calves in the herd, they are often the first victims. The lions are split up and very wary. An experienced lioness will attempt to kill quickly and silently so as not to alert the protective herd who are still nearby. The rest of the pride immediately home in on the distress calls of the dying calf. When help arrives, the experience of the old female shows as she switches her grip to cover the calf's nose and mouth. The death of a buffalo has very little impact on the rest of the herd. Ties between individuals are not particularly strong, and the skeleton of an old buffalo bull is only of passing interest to his former bachelor friends on their way to the water. The old Africa hands had a great respect for the buffalo. Many ranked it as the most dangerous of the Big Five. Once wounded, they are extremely difficult to kill and have a reputation for making every effort to get even with their tormentor. In protected areas where buffalo are not subjected to heavy hunting or poaching pressure, such as the Chobe National Park in Botswana, they still range in huge numbers across the fertile floodplains. These large aggregations are made up of a number of sub-herds that traverse their home territory together, splitting into discrete groups when they stop to feed or rest. Within large herds, there are specific individuals, known as pathfinders, that always take the lead when the herd moves. In areas where the buffalo are heavily preyed on by lions or humans, the herd moves in a tight group with youngsters safely in the middle while moving through thick bush. Bulls that are not dominant within the family groups stay by themselves or in small gatherings known as bachelor herds. These are usually cantankerous old gentlemen who spend their retirement grazing and wallowing. They are attended by flocks of oxpeckers, who not only perform a valuable grooming service, but also act as an early warning system should danger threaten. Buffaloes are bulk grazers, able to eat much longer and coarser grass than the other grazing animals with which they compete. They have a long prehensile tongue that bundles grass to be snapped off by the incisors. During the mating season, the prime bachelor bulls will join the herd and attempt to mate with the fertile cows. The females are not always receptive of this unwanted attention and make it as difficult as possible for the amorous bachelors. Every day the herd must move from feeding grounds to water, as buffalo need to drink at least once a day. This movement usually takes place in the early morning or late evening. In the dry season, the herd starts out slowly from the forests and thickets where they pass the heat of the day through the dry scrub on the riverine fringe. As they move out onto the floodplain, excitement builds until the herd begins to gallop to the water's edge. After slaking their thirst, the herd slowly moves back toward the safety of the thick bush for the night. When the heat drains out of the African day and the evening sky starts to fade, you may be lucky enough to catch a glimpse of a languid form resting on the limb of a large tree. A prince of the night surveying his domain before descending to prowl the cooling evening, moving with a savage, fluid grace. Enigmatic, powerful, and supremely beautiful, the African leopard is the very pinnacle of refinement on the cat blueprints. As a creature of the night, he is greatly feared by rural people throughout Africa and is associated with witchcraft and the sinister forces of darkness. It is these very habits of stealth that have allowed the leopard to live in the shadow of man without detection, even outside the safety of national parks that protect the other members of the Big Five. Leopards use the cover of night to hunt and steal away before first light to a secret place. Apart from man himself, the leopard is the most widespread of Africa's large carnivores, yet remains the least seen and the least understood of Africa's Big Five. In some game viewing areas where leopards have become more trusting and relaxed in the presence of man, it is not unusual to see one of these magnificent creatures moving during daylight hours. The success story of the leopard is a combination of factors that have been brought together in a perfect predator. They are possessed of enormous strength, being pound for pound perhaps the strongest of the world's great cats. From the white tip of his long tail to the stout fangs in his powerful jaws, this is a perfectly tuned killing machine. A large male leopard can weigh over 200 pounds, with massive forequarters and huge paws, designed to subdue and hold large prey, while a powerful bite to the throat kills quickly and silently. The leopard is a solitary, antisocial hunter, spending most of its life totally alone. Each animal holds a territory that is marked by head rubbing, scent spraying, and vocalizations. Male territories overlap with a number of female ranges, and it is only when the females are ready to mate or are raising cubs that leopards will be seen together. Mother leopards give birth to their young in totally inaccessible dens, hidden from the attentions of other predators or the prying eyes of man. Here, they raise one or two infants who remain hidden for the first few weeks of their lives. When their eyes clear and coordination improves, they become more adventurous and begin to explore their surroundings while mother is away hunting. She will soon begin to take them with her to places where she has stashed the kill from the night before. Flicking the white tip of her tail is a signal for the youngsters to follow. These trips are learning experiences for the cubs, and they begin immediately to familiarize themselves with the territory and to sharpen their hunting skills. Perhaps the greatest contribution to the leopard's success is the ability to climb trees and to hoist prey high into the branches where the meat is safe from other predators. Here, it is fed on periodically and at considerable leisure. Leopards are patient hunters and will spend a long time stalking to within a short distance of their quarry. The attack is a blur of speed, and the kill is quick and efficient. Prey is often dragged a long distance from where it is captured, away from the smells and possibly the sounds of the kill that may have attracted unwanted attention. If the kill is too large to take into a tree immediately, feeding will start on the ground. For a leopard, this is a fastidious process. After making sure that there are no other predators around, the flanks and rump of the carcass are carefully plucked of fur. Once the prey is safely in a tree, the leopard can relax and enjoy its meal to the full. Even lurking hyenas do not draw so much as a glance from the feeding cat. It is the glorious markings of the leopard's coat that gives this animal its breathtaking beauty, and at the same time makes it such a master of camouflage and subterfuge. During the day, stationary leopards are virtually undetectable when under cover. It is only when they move that their presence is given away, affording a brief but unforgettable glimpse, before slowly melting back into the bush that conceals their secret lives.
Early in the morning, when the leopard hides away, is the best time to look for the black rhino. I am George. I have been tracking black rhino in the Pilanesberg for 12 years. I am the father of the rhino. They are my children. I have watched many babies arrive. I have given them names and watched them grow to have babies of their own. Some rhinos here I know better than my own family.
A living relic of prehistory, the rhinos of Africa are among the most ancient mammal species on Earth. For more than 20 million years, they have trodden the dust of Africa's wilds, and now they face their darkest hour. There are two species of rhinoceros in Africa, the square-lipped or white rhino and the hook-lipped or black rhino. The white rhinoceros was on the verge of extinction in the early 1900s before pioneering efforts by the Natal Parks Board in South Africa saved the few remaining animals. A capture method using rifle-fired tranquilizing darts was perfected and the population was stabilized. Today, rhino can be safely moved from threatened areas to start new breeding populations away from danger. White rhinos now occur in many protected areas of the subcontinent. Unfortunately, their cousins have not been as lucky. The difference between the two species actually has nothing to do with their color. The name can probably be traced back to the early Dutch settlers of South Africa, whose word, weit, meaning wide, to describe the rhino's mouth, became corrupted to white. The main anatomical difference between the species relates to their feeding. White rhinos eat only grass, spending much of their day in the open. The long head is an adaptation to this grazing lifestyle and is kept pointing toward the ground, even when not feeding. The big, square mouth functions like a lawnmower, with the tough lips pulling up enough grass to maintain an enormous bulk of more than 2 tons. The black rhino is a browser, spending its time in thickets, eating mainly leaves and branches of shrubs and trees. A prehensile top lip is used to select and snap off food from favorite plant species. Behaviorally, the two species of rhino are very different. Even the way the calves run with their mothers when alarmed helps to tell them apart. The calf of the black rhino always runs behind the female. This may be an adaptation to the thick habitat in which black rhinos spend most of their time, with mother clearing a path for her baby. A white rhino calf, when very young, always runs in front of the female on the open grasslands. This allows mother to keep a protective eye on her youngster and prevent attack from the rear with her impressive bulk. Like most hairless mammals, rhinos love to wallow, especially in the heat of the day. This helps them cool down and coat themselves against biting insects. Once they have spent some time in the mud, a good scratch against a tree helps get to those hard-to-reach areas. White rhino lead a quiet life, either on their own or in small groups of females and calves. The babies are tiny at birth and are usually kept well hidden in thick bush or dry watercourses. Once they are brought out into the open, they grow quickly, and close bonds with mother are maintained by suckling until more than a year old. They are generally a very docile and peace-loving creature. The black rhino has a different nature altogether. It was his warlike disposition when threatened that made him a coveted trophy and member of the Big Five. The black rhino was more widely spread and plentiful than his southern cousin, and much more of a challenge to the sportsman. They are renowned for their very short temper and are constantly alert, looking out for intruders. If they detect the presence of danger, they will usually trot off a short distance with tails curled high on their backs, indicating alarm. If pressed, a quick investigation is followed immediately by a full-blooded charge. Because of their curiosity and inquisitive nature, the black rhino has, tragically, always been an easy animal to hunt. In the early years of the East African safari, the already shrinking population was decimated. In recent years, it is the horn of the rhino that has caused the dramatic decrease in the numbers of this magnificent beast. Over the last 2 decades, 98% of all black rhinos in Africa have been wiped out. Poachers sell the horn for illegal export to the Far East, where it is erroneously believed to have magical medicinal properties. In the Middle East, it is used for decoration on ceremonial dagger handles that symbolize virility. This tragic stupidity has left the whole continent of Africa with less than 3,000 black rhinos. There is a very real possibility that unless something is done now, we will soon see the extinction of the black rhino in its wild habitats. Fortunately, there is hope. The black rhino is tenuously hanging on to survival in a very few protected areas, such as the Pilanesberg in South Africa. Here they are monitored and protected by men like George Pirie. We were lucky enough to film one of the rarest sights in Africa today, a 3-day-old black rhino calf still finding his feet while trying to keep up with mother. Every birth is a glimmer of hope. This young calf was probably, on that day, the latest arrival to the wild black rhino population of the whole planet.
Every day, when the sun goes down, the lion starts to call his name, and the leopard rises to walk in the night. These animals are the ones that make Africa special. If we lose these animals, there will be nothing left to protect.